There are two specific things that I want to talk about right away, okay? Following this, what would you call it? Kerfuffle? Nonsense with the Warren campaign. The first thing I want to do is a summary of what has transpired up to this point, what's happened, what's gone on, who did what, why are we cringing, who are we mad at? The answer is Warren, and we're cringing very, very hard, okay? Don't spam too hard, guys, as much as I agree with the sentiment. So, here is what happened. Let's roll up to it. Okay. 2 days before the last DNC presidential debate, there was a bit of a drama incident that cropped up. Essentially, a Bernie Sanders telemarketer. So the telebank callers, they call around, they ask hey, who are you voting for? Can I convince you to vote for Bernie? A script was leaked from this person's workplace, and it had within it some information pertaining to how to speak to people if they were fans of Warren but ought to be fans of okay, we're purging. Was it nuke? Yeah. Goodbye. So anyway, as I was saying, the script from the telemarketer was leaked. It contained information pertaining to how he and the other people at that office should be referring or speaking to Warren supporters. It was a volunteer in the Slack chat, if I recall correctly. I'm not totally up in the specifics. It's totally possible. Whatever the case may be, the Warren campaign commented on it, sending an email out that Warren found it disappointing that Bernie Sanders had used the language that was found within that script. Now, that script was unofficial. It was not approved by Bernie Sanders. It was being used independently by volunteers. It was being used. The script wasn't fake, but it also wasn't official Bernie Sanders TM memorabilia trademark merchandise, okay? However, in spite of the fact that it wasn't official, Warren commented on it anyway, exposing millions of people to news about the contents of a script that may have well only been used by a few people. Which was really, 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 really strange, but not nearly as strange as what happened the next day. CNN reported on a story saying that 4 people had reported to Politico saying that they had been present at a private 2018 meeting between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, wherein Bernie Sanders had said that he did not believe a woman could become president. So we have 4 unconfirmed anonymous sources claiming that they were present at a private meeting in 2018. CNN published this story as though it was fact, in spite of the fact that there have been people who have since come out saying that the context in which this statement was made was one in which Bernie Sanders was remarking upon the capacity for misogyny in the general election and the opposition that women will face, particularly against Donald Trump, who has a particular, it seems, ability to rile up misogyny amongst his fan base. I mean, look what fucking happened to Hillary, okay? He absolutely weaponized that against her. So the allegation is as such, okay? The allegation is this. CNN reports saying that Bernie Sanders told Warren a woman can't be president. CNN reports this as fact. At the time of the reporting of the story, Warren's campaign refused to comment on it. Sanders's campaign outright denied it. And CNN reported it as fact anyway. For CNN to report on this story as though they had any sort of verified source or confirmation from either party, when they didn't, is genuinely disgusting. But let's think for a moment, because the problems with this story being run don't begin and end with the sourcing. You see, a little while after that story was run, Elizabeth Warren came out and confirmed the story. Elizabeth Warren said, yeah, I was also at that 2018 meeting, after all. And Bernie did say that. Let's think for a second. Let's really fucking think. Just for a second, okay? About Bernie Sanders. Now, the context in which this information is being put out into the void is pretty clear. The implication is that Bernie Sanders is a sexist. The way this story was being run, the way it was being commented on, the way it was being editorialized, all implied that the way in which this information had come to light indicated Bernie Sanders was in some way being sexist. You know, like, okay, sweetheart, yeah, woman be president? Maybe after a cow jumps over the moon or something. Imagine that's a better Bernie Sanders impression, something like that. But let's really think about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders' videos from the 1980s of him encouraging young women to grow up and become president in spite of the adversity they may face. Bernie Sanders, who was fastidiously pushed progressive feminist rhetoric for as long as he has been a political actor, which was all the way back to the 1960s. Bernie Sanders, who, and this is true, only ran for president in 2016 after asking Elizabeth Warren to run for president as a progressive instead and running after she didn't. He only ran in 2016 because Elizabeth Warren didn't. Bernie Sanders knew there needed to be a progressive candidate to challenge the DNC's hegemonic candidate, Hillary Clinton, and he supported Warren. Haha, really? Yes! Bernie Sanders tried to push Warren to run for president, and when she didn't, and he really wanted her to, he ran. So let's really think about this. Let's really think about this. What's more likely? Well, there are three possibilities. The first possibility is that Warren is flat out factually lying. And this to me seems like this to me seems unlikely. I don't think that Warren is just fabricating a piece of information out of thin air. I don't think that's the case. The second option is that Bernie Sanders is a misogynist. Secretly, even though he's encouraged Warren to run for president before, that he, in a private conversation, let the mask slip after decades of feminist activism, literally decades longer than I've been alive, twice as long as I've been alive, in fact. He let the mask slip, and he said, actually, I don't think a woman can be president. And Warren confirms that version of the story. What seems the most likely story to me, the most, if we infer to the most reasonable possible, probability, what seems most likely to me is that Bernie Sanders said he believed, and again, I wasn't there at this meeting, so I can only assume he believed that a woman would face significant challenges becoming president in this upcoming election, in all likelihood, due to the lasting legacy of Hillary's defeat and opposition from Trump, who has a virulently misogynistic base. And Warren misinterpreted that and ran with it. It wouldn't be the first time Warren's done a little oopsies when it comes to telling the truth, Elizabeth, first woman of color from Harvard Law, Warren, Elizabeth, what was it? Pow Wow Chow, Warren. Elizabeth marked myself down as Indian American on government forms, Warren. Elizabeth, Elizabeth Warren, It wouldn't be the first time I think she's run with an idea, kind of perhaps in spite perhaps of common sense or decency. Yeah, natives have high cheekbone. Elizabeth, my parents eloped through racial tensions. Warren, really? Well, or my grandparents, was it? Considering how much native blood there is in her, I can't imagine they would have been too different in skin color. Um, Elizabeth, I have faced significant challenges due to being a woman of color, so on and so forth. It won't be the first time. But we don't need to impugn Warren to rebel against this disgusting smear on Bernie Sanders. So here we are right now. Where are we at the timeline? Well, right now, CNN has just run a story which was initially unverified, but then later gets confirmed by Warren. Hey, hot top, that suggests the Warren campaign originally corroborated with and confirmed the allegations CNN published as fact. That's why CNN ran with it, and Elizabeth Warren later confirmed it. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have run with it until getting commentary from either side. The fact that they ran with it without getting commentary, at least from Elizabeth Warren's campaign, kind of sort of suggests that they collaborated on making this story. Not only collaborated on making it, also collaborated on dropping it the day before the Democratic debates hosted by CNN. Oh, just a little coincidence there, just a smidge, perhaps a little smidge of a coincidence that they just so happened to run an unverified story that favors Warren right before the DNC debates, where they have control over the questions being asked, and then Warren confirms the story even though they hadn't commented on it prior. That is a strange coincidence indeed. Shocking, even. Well, the DNC debates happened, folks, and well, I tried to find a good segment of when this happened. I couldn't find any that wasn't being editorialized to hell and back by other people, so I just used my own stream VOD for when I streamed this on D Live. You can see me reacting to this captivating moment down here in the bottom right while I am drawing big boobies. That is actually what I am doing at this point in time.
To make sure that they are elected in order to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of our country.
I would love to know why it's not playing back at ordinary speed. Why is that on 0.75 speed? How do you fix that? Will you upload the VOD? No. Speed. Normal speed.
Senator Sanders.
There we go. Daughter is the same.
Woman could become president of the United States. And let me be very clear.
That's all there is to say.
Any of the women on this stage or any of the men on this stage win the nomination. I hope that's not the case. I hope it's me. But if they do, I will do everything in my power to make sure that they are elected in order to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of our country.
So to clarify, the CNN moderator asked Bernie Sanders if he believed a woman could be president, or for his characterization of the meeting that he had in 2018 with Elizabeth Warren. And he says, of course I didn't say that. I've been a fucking feminist for ages. Why would you ever think I'd say that? We need anyone. We need a woman. I don't care. I hope it's me. I'm not a woman. But, I mean, why would I ever say a woman can't be president? And then...
Senator Sanders,
daughter is the same.
To be clear here, you're saying that you never told Senator Warren that a woman could not win the election.
That is correct.
Senator Warren, what did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
What? That right there. To confirm, Senator Sanders, you didn't say a woman could not become president. That is correct. Okay, Warren, how did you feel when Bernie Sanders said a woman couldn't become president? No allegedly, no what is your side of the story. CNN took these allegations, even though this is literally a he said, she said situation, as fact in favor of Warren. This is factual bias. This isn't us being fans of Bernie thinking he's being mistreated. This is literal empirical bias. Disgusting. This is manufactured consent. This is exactly what Chomsky meant when he referred to manufactured consent. Manufactured consent is when you are made complicit and compliant to a political establishment that is deliberately weighing the scales against you. So when CNN, one of the largest news organizations on the planet, is deliberately misrepresenting information to bias public opinion against Bernie. And by the way, yes, the post-debate polls did show that people did not think Bernie did as well as he could have, in spite of the fact that Bernie handled every other question, every other segment, including this one, mind you, perfectly. This was what it took. This is the knife in the back. And Warren was the one who orchestrated it. Do you want to see something genuinely disgusting? I mean, that's really bad, mind you. But you know, it can always get worse. Do you want to see something genuinely disgusting? After the debates were over, there was a brief segment, about 20 seconds or so, where Warren and Sanders spoke with each other. The mics were dead. The cameras were still on them, but the mics were dead. And they walked up to each other, they spoke some words at one another, and then they walked away. And for a while, people were thinking, oh God, we gotta bring out our fucking, lip readers, our psychics, what? No, of course not. The mics weren't dead, they just weren't playing. Listen.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that discussion. You called me, you told me, all right, let's not do it now.
I don't want to get in the middle of it. I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good. Okay.
I just want to point out, Stayer, strong, trying to get something from your parents while they're having a domestic situation vibes from Stayer. One more time from this.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that discussion. You called me, you told me, all right, let's not do it now.
I don't want to get in the middle of it. I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good. Okay.
After being the subject of preferential bias, after CNN deliberately frames a question in a way to impugn Bernie with no evidence against him, after Warren benefits from a hit on Bernie that she and her campaign almost certainly coordinated with CNN, she has the audacity to walk up to him, deny him the handshake, and accuse him of accusing her of lying. What which he never directly said. He never said, Warren, you lied. He just said, I didn't say that at that meeting. There's room for interpretation here, but the lie was directly catered to Warren's favor, and rebuking that lie was all it took for Warren to accuse him of being a piece of shit. Thin-skinned Warren. Warren is not the president we want against Trump. Warren is not a progressive candidate. Period. If Warren was a progressive, she would not be orchestrating this fake drama, this fake controversy, this fake accusation of sexism against the real progressive candidate. She would be going after Biden. This is genuinely disgusting. I will not withhold here for the disaffected, oh, I'm too cool, I'm an anarchist, all politics is dumb cred. This is genuinely disgusting. Bernie has done nothing his entire fucking life but advocate tirelessly for the things he believes in. Warren, fucking Meemaw Warren, fucking woman of color Warren, former Republican, gets in on the progressive ticket. Warren, who would have run for president in 2016 if she had taken Bernie's advice and Bernie's encouragement. Warren has the audacity to go after him, to work with CNN, to spread deliberate misinformation, to engage in bias that is inexcusable, because even if Bernie is wrong, because he's not a god, even if Bernie is wrong, and though I imagine the odds of him just being sexist in private after everything he's done in his life are unfathomably low, but even if he was wrong, CNN's bias is empirical. CNN saw a he said, she said, published a story right before the DNC debate, assumed the story was true with no actual evidence, and then framed it as though her side was empirically correct. Genuinely disgusting. And you know the reason why? Because CNN is run by fucking reactionaries. Because CNN is run by apolitical dipshits whose only concern is maximizing their finances. Do you want to know how I know that? Do you want to know how I know that? This is how. GNN hires GOP operative with no journalism experience to coordinate its 2020 coverage. CNN hires a Republican operative who has never done journalism to coordinate its coverage. Enemy of America. This is manufactured consent. This is a fake neutrality bias. She is the person at the heart of this. This is a conservative who was brought on to a purportedly liberal network because they knew that she could orchestrate drama in a way that would make them more money. Enemy of the people. CNN. There is no defense of this. No journalism experience? Oh, I bet the GOP loves this too. I bet they love it when CNN coordinates with the second-tier progressive candidate to snipe the first-tier progressive candidate. You know what I think this is? You know what I think this is? I think this is the Warren campaign realizing she doesn't have a shot at the presidency and she's trying to become Biden's VP now. That's what I think. That's what I think's going on here. I think she's trying to become Biden's VP. I think she's trying to take down Bernie, CNN approved, get in, be nice, Elizabeth Warren, know your place, get in line, just be a VP to Biden, just let the DNC picked candidate run through, doesn't matter what the people want, doesn't matter. Democracy? What? It's the DNC, Bring them in, just be quiet, little woman. Forget about Bernie. We have to take Bernie down. Bernie has real principles. We can't buy Bernie, We can't work with Bernie's campaign to sabotage other progressives. It's got to be Warren. Being charitable here, what probably happens is that Warren, who is very intelligent when it comes to policy and not as intelligent when it comes to actually dealing with the nitty-gritty of politics, probably is a little bit overexcitable, probably gets things in her head that she can't get out of her head. Same way she got it in her head at some point that she was Native American and then rode that her entire life until embarrassing herself in front of the entire world after kowtowing to a snarky, a dare, essentially, from Donald Trump. She probably had a private conversation with Bernie, and Bernie probably said something about, systemic oppression that women face, something about how women have obstacles they need to overcome before they can become president, something substantial, women have unique obstacles. This is true. And Warren got it in her head. And Warren, let me tell you folks, Warren is very thin-skinned. Very thin-skinned. You can see it there at the end of that debate where she withheld a handshake because she felt she had been wronged. She's very thin-skinned. So in all likelihood, Warren, now she's up against Bernie. She's doing the presidential run. Bernie supporters are calling Warren a fake progressive. Bernie supporters are saying why they like Bernie over her. Bernie's doing a little better than her, Bernie's doing good. Her polls are falling a little while Bernie's are continuing to stay steady or even rise. Bernie's running top of the Iowa caucus, take it all a little bit as a personal slight. Why don't they like me? They like Bernie. Why don't they like me? get a little thin-skinned, get a little bit hurt sometimes. The more you're hurt, the more uncharitably you interpret things that have happened in your past. And at some point, Warren says, or maybe some of her staffers say, hey, how about that convo you had with Bernie back in 2018? And Warren's like, yeah, he did say that women couldn't be president, didn't he? And you run with that. Thin-skinned people do this. Narcissistic people do this, people who aren't used to taking criticism, people who think too highly of themselves. This is the thing that people like this tend to behave this way. I don't think Warren believes she's flat out lying. I think that Warren's gotten it in her head that Bernie is an opponent in a way that he is not, that his opposition to her is antagonistic when it is not. He does not speak ill of Warren at all. Even that fake campaign script that Bernie never signed off on was incredibly fucking milquetoast and kind to Warren. And I think her campaign rolled with it. I think her campaign took advantage of weak, snowflakey, thin-skinned little Warren, in my opinion. Keep in mind, these are the same campaign staffers that went ahead and told her it was a good idea to take that DNA test on Trump's behest. That's the kind of campaign management we're talking about. So maybe they say, hey, you're not polling too well in the Iowa caucus. You're probably not going to pull ahead of the other candidates. Instead of, going down in a sinking ship, why not split up the progressive vote so Biden has a better shot, Why not be VP? That's still pretty good. I have no sympathy for Elizabeth Warren. I think her behavior was disgusting. I think it was appalling. I think that on a personal level, she backstabbed a friend and her hurt is visible in the face of Bernie Sanders when she pulls his hand away. I think his confusion and shock was managed superbly when he said he would rather discuss it later rather than do what she wanted to do, which was apparently fight on stage. I'm disgusted by her behavior. I'm disgusted by her opportunism. I'm disgusted by how complicit she is in the clear bias CNN showed to her. If Elizabeth Warren had even a fragment of integrity anywhere running through her bloodstream, she should have called that question out. Because even if Elizabeth Warren does personally believe that Bernie told her a woman couldn't be president, that doesn't change the fact that CNN was framing that story in a he said, she said, as though what she said was empirically correct. Doesn't change that fact. If she had had the integrity to stand up on stage right there after they had done that little switcheroo, after they had said to Bernie, so just to be clear, you're saying you never said that? Bernie says yes, turns to Warren. Okay, how did you feel when he actually did say that, though? For Warren to say, well, while I do disagree with Sanders' characterization of the events that took place in that meeting, I am personally disgusted by the fact that you, CNN, are framing this directly against him in my favor. Neither of us provided empirical evidence or tapes of this. I believe you should address this with impartiality so the American people can make their own decisions. If she had had the integrity and the courage to stand up to bias in the media like that, the way Bernie would if he was ever shown favorable bias in the media, ever, that would have been incredible. But she didn't, because Warren is a slimy, weak, thin-skinned, frail piece of shit who should not be President of the United States of America. Bar none.